Welcome back, ISO here. I have the completion guide for chapter 1 of Act 7, otherwise known as Book 2, Act 1. It is very extensive. I did a lot of research for the easiest paths and bosses, broke down every single boss, but there is much more to this. The community will continue to improve this guide, and as I respond to your comments, I will be updating this sheet constantly, so please check out the Google document for the latest guide. So as general guidelines and disclaimers, there are 3 bosses per quest. Everyone has different champions, which is why I'm breaking down the 2 easiest bosses and easiest paths. I'm not going to break down the hardest boss, although I did put in this sheet the counters and how to beat them if you are looking to explore this chapter. That being said, if you want me to create a guide how to beat every single boss, let me know and I will do so. The third thing to note here is that you want to take advantage of the character swaps right before the boss fight in order to create an optimal matchup and optimal synergies. Also to note, there are global nodes only for 6 stars, giving them a massive fury, damage reduction, and block proficiency that scales with the current adrenaline. I also included a legend and abbreviations for your reference. So let's get into it. Quest number 1, Reboot, Option 1, Yondu, the easiest path, Ronin with Flare and Colorblind. You can bring any champion as long as you have different classes so you don't degen, and also bring champions that heal, such as Black Widow, Clairvoyant, but Corvus, Awakened Corvus with Ghost and Hood works so well here, as well as Nick Fury due to his double life, and Spider-Ham since he is immune to the degen. Let's talk about Yondu. He has a node called Super Masochism, which is the same thing as Masochism except that the debuff goes to you, such as Stun, Bleed, Poison, Shock, Incinerate, Cold Snap, or Rupture. So the key is to bring a champion immune to your own debuffs. You can also use Rich Get Richer node to your advantage to basically special intercept him. Now, if he does have more buffs than you, which he can, you will want to just bait out that SP1, giving you the opening. But if you don't want to do that, you can use Ghost if you have her. The Foresight will give you a massive fury on intercept. You can use Torch, Sorcerer Supreme due to the block regen, just punish his heavy. Sunspot as well works really good for all those incinerates. You can also punish him with Hyperion's power gain. You can use Elsa's evade, Silver Surfer's phase heavy, Apocalypse breaks through the block. You can also use Void to just bring him down eventually, or you can use the Abomination since they are immune to the poison. All of these counters work as long as you can get by that Super Masochism, you will be golden. Option number 2 is Black Widow Deadly Origin. The easiest path, Mysterio with Turtling, Chitinous Thorns, which synergize really well because Turtling gives them an armor buff every 6 seconds, and when you hit them with the armor buff, you will be inflicted with a bleed debuff. So the way you counter this is by breaking their armor or by bringing a bleed immune. Luckily enough, there is Cosmic Fracture, which allows Cosmics to break armor on their lights. So you can use any Cosmics, but I suggest you use a bleed immune. Magneto works really great here, as well as Colossus since they are bleed immune. Just do not use robots because the cutting wires will give you a shock instead. Otherwise, you can use Ghost, Luke Cage, Medusa, or Corvus. Let's talk about the boss. So she has this node called Bullet Time, and if you can master how to play this, you can beat her with anyone. So what happens is that when you parry her, she's going to get an evade, and right after she gets that evade, you want to dex. This will in turn cause a passive stun, synergizing with the stun vulnerability, causing massive damage. Do be careful of the tenacity. So you can use anybody, including evade counters such as Nick Fury, Hitmonkey, Professor X. Storm Pyramid X works great for the tenacity. Ghost, Corvus with Proxima, and Sunspot, since the tenacity will give him extra power from his incinerates being shrugged off. I will skip option 3, but it is here for those who are looking to beat this chapter completely. She is an easy boss, but this path is pretty tricky, which is why I suggest going the other 2 routes. Quest 2, Breakout. Option 1, Green Goblin, easiest path, Red Skull with Mix Master. Pretty simple path. The only tough fight is Emma. You have to start your combos with a light or with the medium. What I like doing is pairing heavy, then parry, medium 5-hit combo, rinse and repeat. Make sure you throw your specials before you degen due to the special delivery node. And you can also use cosmic attackers since they will get a really beefy 40% fury buff for a special attack for each unique buff on that champion. So I suggest you use Venom. Gamora is really good here. Angela as well. Silver Surfer. Hyperion not so much, but he is still really good. You can also use Quake. And you can use Nick Fury due to the evade counter. Just bring somebody for that Emma. Somebody who breaks her armor like Hyperion or Gamora works really well. Let's talk about the Green Goblin boss. He's pretty easy, man. If you have somebody who stun locks him, you win. Gambit, Ronin, Stark-Hand Spider-Man, Colossus after you build 20 armors from parrying. You just have to throw that SP1 over and over and you can take him down. But be careful. Due to the red lining node, if you are above 2 bars of power, you will get power drained. And of course, Green Goblin will throw that unblockable special at you and take you down. So be careful with that, guys. I wouldn't worry about cramping. It applies a weakness debuff on you, which from my understanding is only when Green Goblin clips you. But you can also power lock with Magic or Dormammu. You can also Quake Green Goblin, Vision, Magneto's SP2 since Green Goblin is magnetized, and if you are an expert Tiger player, you can phase through that unblockable SP1. Okay, for option 2, you can go Venom or Rhino. I personally think Venom has more counters. So let's talk about the easiest path, Daredevil Hell's Kitchen, with destructive feedback. All you have to worry about is just not being hit during that destructive feedback. Just be patient and only hit the opponent while the feedback is on cooldown, if you will. Mutants have the edge with evolutionary advantage. So what it does basically, when the defender is suffering from a bleed, armor break, or concussion, mutants gain a fury. Do be careful with overreach fury since the opponent will gain power very slowly if you have 2 or more furies. Invisible Woman can be kind of tricky in Miles Morales, so bring somebody who can counter them like Nick Fury. You can use Ghost for Miles Morales or anybody who counters evade. I've listed some of the counters that apply bleeds and concussions, such as Cable's SP2, Emma's SP2, or Magneto's armor break. So when fighting Venom, the only node you have to worry about is Chitinous Thorns, because whenever Venom has a armor up buff, you will get a bleed debuff applied automatically. So you can imagine you start out the fight and Venom has a armor up buff, you will get a hefty bleed on you. So use a bleed immune that's not a robot, again due to cutting wires, like Ghost, especially if you intercept, you get that fury from the Foresight node. Other counters are Ghost Rider, Cosmic Ghost Rider, as well as Mystic champions like Morningstar, Dr. Voodoo, Doom, Sorcerer Supreme, but you have to kind of risk it to make sure he doesn't have an armor up buff. Definitely bring counters for Venom, but play it safe. Have a bleed immune in your team. Here are the summary notes for Rhino, but to put it short, if you have a sick 200 Namor, use him and you'll have a great time. Quest number 3, Recycle, with the easiest boss by far, Red Hulk. The path to him I recommend begins with Sentry. He has Special Connoisseur, and in this node, the opponent takes 90% less damage except from special attacks. But you have to have a prowess effect. If you couple this with the Mutant Mastery node, which pretty much allows mutants to gain an indefinite prowess buff, if the opponent has a debuff. Do keep in mind, you have a 40% chance to proc this prowess buff per debuff, with the chance increasing whenever you apply a debuff. It's pretty reliable overall. There is a shifting immunity, bleed, and poison, so I don't recommend using a mutant that applies. So therefore, I don't recommend you using a mutant that applies bleeds, because it can be a little bit annoying, but it can be done. Therefore, the MVPs are Sunspot, Professor X, Storm Pyramid X. Other people that could work are Archangel, Havoc, Magneto, pretty much anyone that applies many debuffs. The second option that you have for this quest is Hulkbuster. He has a really easy path, beginning with Star-Lord. This path has Mesmerize. The strategy is to parry heavy or parry double medium. Just make sure that the heavy is a quick heavy and you finish the heavy before the stun timer runs out, or they could evade. What makes this path really easy is the stun vulnerability. So I use Nick Fury parry double heavy, but you can use any evade counter. Hitmonkey works really good, Ghost as well, Hulkbuster, Black Widow Clairvoyant with the quick heavy. Hulkbuster can be a little bit annoying, but he does have counters. There is an interesting interaction. The Hit Me I Dare You gives him a lot of armor ups, and every time you get rid of an armor up, you get a shock on you, a very strong shock. In addition to that, he has spiked armor, so any critical hit will bring back a lot of damage. That includes Ghost. The strategy is to break his armor, bring in a shock immune or somebody who regenerates. Some of the MVPs include Captain Marvel movie, Silver Surfer, Doom, Corvus, Quake works really good, and Magneto because he is metal. Other shock immune characters like Korg and Thing can potentially work. Black Widow Clairvoyant might be able to work by keeping his power low and regenerating. People like Gilly, 2099, and Guardian, you might be able to bypass the spiked armor, but you gotta keep in mind his big armor ups. When Hulkbuster reaches low health, he's going to get more armor ups, so he's going to get more resistance, especially to the bleeds, for example, that Nick Fury would apply, so he wouldn't work. Again, the ideal champions are the MVPs. If you have any more counters, let me know and I'll add them to the list. I won't say much about Vision Arcus, but these MVPs will get him down. They are the best counters for him. If you want me to make a video dedicated to all the bosses, let me know down below. In quest number 4, Usurp begins with the easiest boss, Hela, and the easiest path, Hulk Ragnarok, which contains Colorblind and Brute Force. Here you just want to bring different classes, that way you don't degen and you just keep up Brute Force. In addition to that, there is bonuses for using class advantage over every champion, which synergizes great with Colorblind. There is one tough fight, Nick Fury, and I recommend you bring in a strong mutant champ for him. Anybody works, Magneto, Omega Red, Namor, Domino, but just make sure you have different classes. Some of the MVPs here I found helpful. Gilly 2099, you definitely want to build her up before the Hela fight, as well as Nick Fury, Hitmonkey, Black Widow Clairvoyant. Let's talk about the Hela boss. There is no one node that gives you too much trouble. The more annoying node is Lazarus, which basically gives her 5 revival charges that heal her 20% max health when she would be knocked out. There is one caveat to this. If you have 20 hits on the combo meter, it removes one of these charges, which works great with Gilly 2099. If you don't have her, you can use Doom. Just slap her in the corner, keep her at the corner. If Doom is Sig 200, it will always proc, and that stagger will bypass the Lazarus. Longshot is another option. He works really great with Hela. Watch out for Counter-Strike, because when you dex 10 times, Hela will be unblockable for 15 seconds. And in case you were thinking of using Ghost, you cannot use her because of Rust and Ruin, which will give you armor break. Let's talk about option number 2, Juggernaut, beginning with Mordo, which has polka dot power, poison vulnerability, and highly flammable. You want to use a champion that applies poisons or incinerates and bring a power control for Mordo because he can be pretty annoying. The other hard champion is Thing, so make sure you bring a counter for him. Some of the MVPs include Torch, Sunspot, the Abominations, Mysterio with the poison, as well as Man-Thing, Hyperion with the SB1 incinerates, and Black Widow Clairvoyant. Let's talk about Juggernaut. He is not too hard, but you have to watch out for Rising Sun, which will give you 10 Furies eventually when you attack him, and if you don't do a heavy before they expire, you will take massive amounts of degen. The tricky note here is Caustic Temper. Rising Sun, however, allows you to counter Caustic Temper as long as your champion is poison immune. This being said, you could use Hyperion, Medusa, Captain Marvel movie, and Ghost, but don't forget about his unblockable specials. And if you want extra spice for your attack, you can take advantage of Juke, which gives you a passive fury if you do different combo enders. But this will not help you for Caustic Temper, which requires an active fury. Other options include Man-Thing and any robots. A short comment on Wolverine Weapon X. He is basically a poison vulnerability version of Weapon X. If you know how to fight him, he is a pretty easy boss. Archangel is phenomenal for this fight. A few notes on Quest 5 and 6 before we begin. First of all the bosses are mashup champions. This means that there is a combination of two champions. For example, Punishing Angel. You have the character of Angela with the animations of Punisher, including the special attacks. So the abilities are mixed and you have to know what abilities each boss has before you fight them, but don't worry, I will help you out with this. Secondly, there are common nodes in every single boss in these two quests, namely power buildup and power overflow. When the opponent gets to 2 bars of power, they gain these consecutive prowess buffs, and upon reaching 10, their special attack is unblockable. But don't worry about their special 3, it is not active. In quest number 5 mashup, the easiest option is Punishing Angel with the easiest path beginning with the hood. The key to this path is the node called Shake It Off, which allows skill attackers to shrug off a debuff by dashing back. This means that you'll be able to shrug off the poison every 7 seconds and the incinerates that you get by attacking the opponent from the energy adoption just by dashing back. Just make sure you do so safely. The MVPs are any bleed skill characters such as Nick Fury, Blade, Gwenpool, Falcon, Hitmonkey, Nick Fury of which is a great counter to Invisible Woman. You can also bring Iceman, who is immune to the poison and the incinerate. Let's talk about the combination here of Angela and Punisher, giving you Punishing Angel. This champion takes 90% less damage unless they have a Mercy passive. And this is where the node Mercy comes in. You want to play like Stark Enhanced Spider-Man. Dex Punishing Angel as many times as you want. Doing this will allow you to get this Mercy passives on you and apply them to Punishing Angel. Doing so will allow you to do your full damage, but the key here, guys, is to throw your special attack because you get a bonus of 80% increase in your attack damage. Overall, a pretty easy fight. Just watch out for that SP2 because the prowess buildup will do massive amount of damage through your block. Therefore, try to bait SP1s. Another option is Night Carnage with the easiest path beginning with Terex having unlimited power, which gives the opponent permanent fury buffs for every debuff they have suffered every 10 seconds. For example, a parry, every 10 seconds they will get a permanent fury buff. This makes for some great interactions with Ronin. If you have a 5-star Ronin Awaken, you can just throw that SP1 and stun lock. Another option is to nullify those furies. Now, Mystics do get a bonus with Mystic Curse, allowing them to place a poison on the opponent after activating a special attack. If you don't have Ronin, the best option is to use magic for an SP3 and pretty much one-shot them. But be careful, for every Fury buff nullified, they will gain 15% of their max power. Which means that if you nullify more than 7, they will get to an SP3. So make sure you bring somebody who is constantly nullifying Fury so you can avoid that, or somebody who can power lock them like magic. Doom, Black Widow, Clairvoyant. You can also try to cheese this with Longshot and Morningstar by having them build up to so many Furies that you'll one-shot them. This might take some practice to get the exact number correct. There are other options as I listed here. Night Carnage is a combination of Nightcrawler and Carnage, and yes, he does evade like Nightcrawler. He has a node called Energy Adoption Lightning. When you attack Night Carnage, you have a 50% chance to be applied with a shock, unless he is suffering from a poison debuff, which synergizes very well with the poison vulnerability node. So your goal is to apply poison to minimize shock damage, or you can just bring a shock immune character. Ghost is an MVP for this, Corvus with Proxima as well, Black Widow, Clairvoyant with the poison damage, Mysterio and the Abominations with the poison, and Apocalypse. If you don't have any of these, you can use Doom, Silver Surfer, Thing. Just to comment on Electro Luke, he's basically a buffed up Electro. You want to use Namor 6200, Omega Red, Quake, and maybe even Guardian. The last quest, quest number 6, Remix. An easy option is fighting Spider Witch. You want to take the Sunspot path with Footloose and Stun vulnerability. So with Footloose, the opponent becomes unstoppable and has a chance to evade every time they throw a special attack. The strategy is to do parry and heavy, or do parry medium light medium. This will maximize your damage due to stun vulnerability. You can also apply a slow or a stagger with champions like She-Hulk, Spider-Gwen. Other MVPs include Captain America Infinity War, Red Guardian, Doctor Doom, Stealthy. You can also use Quake or Aegon to an SP3 for that extended stun. The only tough fight is Doctor Strange because he can be somewhat stingy and the SP2 can be hard to evade, so watch out for that. Now, Spider-Witch is a combination of Spider-Gwen and Scarlet Witch. She has the look of Spider-Gwen with the animations and special attacks as well as abilities of Scarlet Witch. She also evades, so not only do you want to bring an evade counter, but you also have to be on the lookout for the poison that Scarlet Witch normally applies with critical hits. She has special chaos inversion, where your dash and dodge controls are inverted. My suggestion is to anticipate the special attack and just block it and wait out the inversion. If you use somebody who applies guaranteed critical hits, you will get an incinerate after landing 4 or more. Ghost is very good for this because the incinerate will just become a fury. So the general strategy is to do parry heavy and anticipate the special chaos inversion. Other MVPs include She-Hulk, Professor X, Torch because she is a mystic and you can just use Noble Flames to rinse her down, as well as Gilead 2099 and the rest that I listed here. Please note guys that she will still evade even if you use Venom and possibly Red Goblin. The second option you have is Ice Phoenix. The easiest path is Darkhawk with destructive feedback. Cosmic champions gain a huge bonus in this path, with Cosmic Wrath giving them a fury and impatience, which gives cosmic attackers a huge attack increase whenever they fail to trigger a buff. So the goal here is to just be patient with destructive feedback and use cosmic characters. There are many tough fights here guys, including Darkhawk, Warlock, Killmonger, and Punisher 2099, for which you can bring Medusa, Magneto, Arcus, as well as Cosmic Ghost Rider. Besides them, Gamora is a beast for this path, as well as Hyperion and Captain Marvel movie. I listed other options for you guys as well. Okay, so Ice Phoenix is a combination of Iceman and Phoenix. As a result, she will apply a huge cold snap in the beginning. The only tough node is Encroaching Stun. All you have to do is counter the Encroaching Stun and the cold snap in the beginning and you're fine. The MVPs include Ghost, Silver Surfer, Torch, Colossus, Corvus, and Warlock. If you are using Silver Surfer and Torch and the Encroaching Stun timer is about to expire, you can throw an SP1, they will not punish you. Other options include Sasquatch, Sabretooth, Mephisto, and Emma. She is immune to stun and cold snap in her diamond phase. Gwynperion is an interesting boss. She has a lot of counters and deserves a whole video by herself. If you want to see me talk about Gwynperion, let me know, drop a like, drop a subscribe, and I can make a video with all the bosses as I said before. That is the end of this completion guide of Act 7, Chapter 1. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it helps you complete and get those nice rewards. If you have any suggestions, counters that I missed, or any great interactions, let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, I want to thank you for your support for my channel. I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe out there. Peace.